The boy just urinated into the dragon pool. The next second he was dragged underwater by a giant snake. But his father didn't jump in to save him. Instead he set up offerings of fruit and meat. Then he lit incense and prayed. At midnight he slaughtered a pig and 3 sheep, placed them in a stone coffin. Then he covered it with a yellow silk cloth decorated with dragons. Finally he sealed the coffin and sank it into the pool, shouted toward the water, "Great Dragon King, I beg you to forgive my son and spare his life. I vow to serve you faithfully for all my lives to come." After that the boy's body floated to the surface. But his face was pale, and his body was covered in strange spots. He seemed dazed and confused. Yet the father didn't seem to care. Instead he told the boy, "I've arranged a marriage for you. In a few days it will be the dragon raising its head festival. I'll take betrothal gifts to arrange your marriage then." The boy, obedient as always, nodded with a smile and agreed. Soon the day of the festival arrived. The man brought his son and the betrothal gifts to the dragon pool. After tossing the gifts into the water, he took out a marriage contract written in ancient text and began reading. When he finished reading, a dragon's roar echoed from the depths. A jade pendant floated to the surface. The man was overjoyed at the sight. He placed the pendant around the boy's neck and said, "From now on you can't go anywhere. You must stay at home. You can't eat solid food, only drink water. If you're hungry, speak to the pendant and say, 'Wife, I want to eat fish.' In the evening someone will bring you fish. When you turn 20, you and your wife can have your formal wedding." Later the man returned home and took out a painting. It depicted a stunning woman in ancient attire. She also wore a jade pendant on her neck. The man told his son, "This is your wife. From now on you must burn incense and worship her daily." From that day on the boy never left the courtyard. Every day he stared obsessively at the painting. Sometimes he would look at it for the entire day. In the blink of an eye 13 years passed. During this time the man's reputation grew immensely. People came to him endlessly for feng shui advice. Among them was the Shen family, the wealthiest family in the southwest. They paid him tens of thousands in silver. But that was also the last time he provided feng shui services. Afterward he spoke to his son. 13 years ago I took you to the dragon pool to arrange your marriage. This second day of the month will be your wedding day. Your union with Miss Chen is both fate and a trial. Remember your wife's surname is Shen. Her family is a prominent household in the southwest. Now change into a clean set of clothes. Her family will be coming to visit you shortly." With that the man opened the door. He moved a ceremonial table to the center of the courtyard, and placed offerings on it. Then he lit 4 incense sticks in the house. The man shouted towards the door, "The auspicious hour has arrived, welcome mother-in-law." From outside the courtyard in the night, a laugh of an old woman suddenly echoed. "After all these years you're still so particular." The man stood respectfully to one side, bowed his head and replied, "It's the least I can do." The boy looked up, and saw an old woman in a black robe, wearing a ghostly face mask, staggering into the yard. She was surrounded by a faint black mist. The man glanced at his son, and the boy immediately stepped forward. He knelt in front of the old woman, and bowed saying, "Greetings mother-in-law, I am Long Laishan." The old woman reached out her withered hand. With her long nails she lifted the boy's chin. After a moment she sighed and said, "Long Chengming, you have spent your life cultivating the Tao. Yet you gave birth to a strange child. Truly fate is cruel. Born with a Taoist body but he is destined to die young. However, no wonder my son-in-law chose him." Saying that she took out a red paper. "This is the required dowry. If you can afford it, at midnight on the second day of the month, you can pick her up by the dragon pool." The man took the dowry list, and broke into a cold sweat. He set the list down, his face pale. Suddenly he laughed out loud. "I've spent my life doing good deeds, and yet this is how I end up. I'll prepare the dowry you require. But I hope you won't make things difficult for my son." The old woman took back the dowry list. In an instant it turned to dust. "There's no question of making things difficult," the old woman said as she reached out to take the jade pendant from the boy's neck. Suddenly a golden light shot out of the pendant. The old woman was struck as though by lightning. She immediately threw the pendant away. The man quickly picked up the pendant. He whispered a few words. The light from the pendant finally faded. The old woman smiled and said, "Didn't expect it to start protecting its master already. You prepare the dowry in advance. I'll be leaving now." With that the old woman vanished. The boy asked in confusion, "Who was that old woman? Was she really from my wife's family?" The man didn't respond. Instead he advised the boy, "I need to go to your grandmother's house. For the next few days stay at home. No matter what happens outside, just stay put." He then pulled out a piece of paper. He tore off a few paper figures and tossed them to the ground. The paper figures hit the ground. They suddenly jumped and ran toward the gate. In the blink of an eye a day passed. The man rode back home on horseback. He handed a white couplet to the boy. "Post these couplets. Tonight I'll go and fetch your wife." The boy opened the couplet. He found that they were mourning couplets typically used for funerals. He asked his father in confusion if he had made a mistake. The man's eyes were firm. "Father's time has come. It's better to hold both a wedding and funeral at once. Those who cultivate the Tao defy heaven with their powers, and in doing so they break the balance of the 3 realms. It is only natural to suffer the backlash of the heavenly Tao. Now you understand why I didn't let you cultivate the Tao, right? Upon hearing this, the boy immediately knelt and sobbed loudly. He clung to the man's robes with great reluctance. The man looked at him with a loving gaze. Life and death are a part of human nature. On the day of your wedding I will face the fall of the heavens. After I die 8 coffins will be brought to me, with 8 bearers for the coffins. They will stay in our home, until my body stiffens and the burial rites can begin. During this time, many people will come to pay their respects. Some are friends from my life, but others may be harmful to you. However, I have set up the 5 Thunder Heaven battle array in the courtyard. Only the 8 bearers can approach the coffins. No one else can get near them. At the same time, your safety will be the responsibility of your grandmother's family. Your mother is the daughter of the Fox clan of the 5 Immortals. On the day of your wedding, your aunts and uncles should also show up. One of them, named R.The, is your uncle. One has the surname Bai. She is your mother-in-law. There are also 2 young girls of your generation. The last one's surname is Wei. You can call him Mr. Wei. These 5 will take turns looking after you. As for your wife, one of the dragon maidens lives in the jade pendant. You should wear it around your neck at all times. The other one, Miss Shen, you must bathe and dress her every day. And you must sleep with her 7 times a month. With that, the man took out a calendar. The boy opened it to see. Calendar had many annotations marked on the dates. Follow the notes on this calendar. Before long, Miss Shen will be pregnant. Miss Shen has a special constitution. She needs your yang energy to nourish her and awaken. Once everything is arranged, the man no longer paid attention to his grieving son. He changed into his burial clothes and lay on the bed. Then he said again, "Tonight your mother's son will return. He is your uncle. He will officiate your wedding." With that, the man quietly lay on the bed and closed his eyes. At that moment, a flash of lightning streaked across the sky. 2 white cranes suddenly flew into the courtyard. They walked into the room one after the other. They knelt directly in front of the man's bed. They bowed their heads 3 times. Then they turned and left. Seeing this, the boy realized his father had passed away. He was about to burst into tears. But suddenly a man appeared beside him. He looked to be around 30 years old, with a few small mustaches. The boy, puzzled, looked up and asked who he was. The man coldly said to the father, "My surname is Bai. You can call me Young Master Z." Hearing this, the boy hurriedly stood up and bowed. "It's my uncle. What's happening to my father now?" Young Master Bai still had a cold expression. His 3 souls have departed. He can only rest once your child is born, to resolve his lingering attachment. Only then will your father truly leave. With that, Young Master Bai chuckled to himself. "You're lucky, kid. In such times, you still get to marry 2 wives. This is thanks to your mother. Without her you wouldn't have such luck." Saying that, Young Master Bai took out a small pouch. From the pouch he pulled out a millennium-old Lingzi mushroom, a reindeer antler, and a massive reindeer king's whip, along with some other powerful tonics. "Kids do these." The boy looked confused. "Why eat so many tonics?" Young Master Bai grinned. "Because tonight you're going to the bridal chamber, and I heard your wife is especially strong. Better get yourself ready. The 5 families have made their stance clear. You're done for. Therefore it all depends on the next generation. And we've consulted Mr. Wei. Your son will be born a child of destiny." The boy didn't say much after hearing this. After stewing the meat, he ate 3 large bowls in a row. With the help of the medicine, the boy's face turned flushed. His previous sickly appearance was gone. He now looked energetic and alert. Young Master Bai patted the boy on the shoulder. He then poured him a large bowl of wine. The boy, distracted, drank too much. Soon it was midnight. The boy, deep in sleep, was awakened by Young Master Bai. Dazed, he walked out of the room. In the courtyard he saw a group of women dressed in mourning clothes. Young Master Bai held a whisk in his hand. Like a palace eunuch, he stretched his voice and called out, "Please, the groom may board the sedan." The boy, unsteady, staggered to the sedan. He climbed up with great effort. It was unclear how much time passed, but the sedan finally stopped by the dragon pool. They waited for over half an hour. Finally 2 rows of figures appeared floating toward the dragon pool. A series of lanterns flew through the air, each with a large dedication character written on them. Following them was a group of carriages and horses. The carriages stopped at the edge of the dragon pool. A middle-aged couple got off the carriage. Young Master Bai introduced, "This is your father-in-law and mother-in-law." The boy quickly knelt. "Son Long Lei Shen, greetings to my father-in-law and mother-in-law." Couple looked at the boy. The middle-aged man sighed. "He's a good boy. Other than being a fool, he has no other flaws. Not like his clever father. Since the 5 immortals are personally matchmaking, our Shen family has no worries. We trust you with Shenner." With that, the carriages moved aside. A group of people behind them began carrying a coffin forward. Seeing the large red coffin on the carriage, Mr. Shen asked, "Where is the dowry?" Young Master Bai opened the scroll. He mumbled something from the scroll. The sound of rushing water began to echo from the dragon pool. Soon a sea of heads appeared before everyone's eyes. Madam Shen immediately fainted from the shock. Mr. Shen was also frightened, stepping back repeatedly. Young Master Bai said, "Mr. Shen, don't be afraid. This is a request from the Lord of the Mountains. Long Changming has lent the lives of these 36 girls to your daughter. As long as your daughter can conceive this boy's child, she will be able to successfully revive. Mr. Shen's face turned ashen. He broke out in a cold sweat. Since that's the case, then I shall take my leave. With that, the Shen couple was helped onto the carriage and left. At that moment, a few figures slowly emerged from the night. They walked slowly toward the scene. An elderly woman with white hair, a little old man in a gray robe, and two beautiful young girls. Meanwhile, the 36 heads had already sunk into the water, disappearing without a trace. Young Master Z said to the boy, "This is old Madam Z and Mr. Wei, as well as two juniors from the Hu and Huang families." Old Madam Z looked at the boy and sighed. "Ong Shengming, in order to carry on your family's legacy, has committed such a heinous crime." She then began to calculate with her fingers. "The time is almost right. Why is there no movement from the dragon pool?" Old Madam Z looked furious. She stomped on her cane. At that moment, the water surface suddenly shook violently. A pillar of water shot up into the sky. Amid the giant waves, a large emerald green snake descended from the sky. It landed steadily in front of everyone. The giant snake landed. It immediately spoke human words. "The younger generation has been waiting for some time." Old Madam Bai said seriously. "What does the Lord of the Dragon Pool say? When will we be allowed to take the person away? This young lady from the Shen family cannot wait too long." Lu Da's face was serious. 36 heads. The Lord does not like them. However, this dowry is requested by the Lord of the Mountains. We will send it back. As soon as he finished speaking, the water in the dragon pool parted automatically. Two mermaids swam out from the dragon pool. They held a glowing water orb in their hands. Inside the orb lay a small green dragon. The 5 immortals were instantly stunned. Although they were immortals, they rarely had opportunities to interact with the Dragon Clan. The few elders who had contacts with the Dragon Clan before had already retired from the world. They no longer interfered with the matters of the 3 realms. Seeing this, the 5 immortals quickly knelt in front of the water pool. "Greetings, ancestor." At this moment, a man's voice came from the dragon pool. "Please, all 5 of you rise. Thank you all for handling the matter of my daughter's marriage. When my daughter comes of age, on the day you escort her back to her family, I will surely reward you greatly. Thank you, Dragon King." The 2 mermaids handed the water orb containing the small green dragon to old Madam Z. Old Madam Bai carefully held the water orb with both hands. She spoke carefully. "Where is the jade pendant?" Young Master Bai took the jade pendant off the boy's neck. Old Madam Bai carefully brought the water orb. When the water orb touched the mist around the jade pendant, it instantly emitted a golden light. The small green dragon soared into the air. It circled joyfully in the air for a few moments. Then it dove into the jade pendant. The 2 mermaids flew back into the dragon pool. The dragon pool returned to calm. The bridal procession drifted along, with thousands of small animals following behind. The boy gave up his seat in the sedan to the jade pendant and rode his horse. The boy felt that the flying dragon horse his father left him was slowly rising into the air. After several hours of long travel, the bridal procession returned to Dragon Pool Village. Young Master Bai instructed to have the coffin carried into the house. It was placed directly in the boy's bedroom. The jade pendant was placed in front of the ancestral tablet. Then the boy was made to complete the wedding rites. After the ceremony, young Master Bai hung the jade pendant around the boy's neck. Then he grinned mischievously. "Fool, your wife is now officially yours. Whether you have a strong son or not, it all depends on you." Everyone left the room. The boy picked up the calendar his father had left behind. Wedding night. The time should be before 5 a.m. Flipping further, the boy was at a loss for words. His father had assumed he didn't understand matters of love, so he had drawn a detailed guide with pictures and explanations. Seeing this, the boy grew a little restless. He glanced at the coffin beside him. On one side was his father lying motionless on the bed. On the other side was a beautiful woman lying in the coffin. The boy felt very conflicted. Just as he hesitated, his father's voice suddenly appeared in his ear. "Why haven't you gone to the bridal chamber? What are you waiting for? Miss Shen has no young energy protecting her. She'll quickly turn to a pile of blood and flesh. There are 3 great unfilial acts. Having no heirs is the worst. Have you forgotten what I told you?" The boy, upon hearing this, stumbled toward the large red coffin. Inside, a beautiful woman in ancient attire lay. Her face as smooth and pale as jade. Her hair hung straight down to her waist. The boy couldn't resist reaching out. He felt that the beauty in the coffin was cold to the touch. But her skin was like that of a living person. The boy's heart raced wildly. Suddenly he thought of something. He hurriedly walked into the room. He quickly returned with a bottle of wine. This was the medicinal wine his father had left him. It was said to nourish the yin and tonify the kidneys. The boy immediately drank most of the bottle. He was transformed. Dazed, he walked up to the coffin and collapsed into it.